Hey guys, it's your friendly neighborhood pastor, Brandon Hembry, coming to you today. Wanted to just continue our discussion on the great book that we were given by Pastor Bob, 8 Habits of Effective Small Group Leaders. So if you check out the first two videos, chapters 1 and 2, we covered on there. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about chapter 3 of the book. I was going through and looking at some of my notes and was just really excited about this chapter. I think even if you haven't read the other couple of chapters, do that so that you can get to chapter 3, because I think that is the biggest thing that we as community group leaders need to work on in 2017. So the title of this chapter was inviting new people to visit the group every single week. And it sounds like a really no-brainer, common sense concept. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, inviting people becomes the last thing we think about until right before the group, when we're going, oh man, I wanted to invite so-and-so and so-and-so and I forgot. And so here's what I've learned. I've learned that if we as leaders are not inviting people to our groups, neither are our members. Because if we are not excited about inviting people to our groups, then our members are not going to be excited about inviting people to our group. And a lot of times, we as leaders have to model it first of inviting people. And we need to talk constantly about inviting people before our members will catch on. But just to kind of go through some of the stuff, this is great stuff, very challenging. But notice that this book is called 8 Habits. And so this is a third habit of inviting people, which means inviting people shouldn't be something that just crosses your mind once a week, but inviting people to your group should be a habit. It should be a common thing that happens over and over and over again throughout your week and your daily life. And so some reasons that inviting people is essential. I think the first no-brainer that he talks about is if you don't invite people, then your group is not going to grow. So he says people get connected with God first by making a connection with God's people. So he quotes a survey here that says about 80 to 90% of people who visit a church and come to Christ do so as a result of an invitation by someone else. So let's just lowball that figure and say that is 80%. Let's say 8 out of 10 people that come to Christ. That's 4 out of 5 people that come to Christ are going to do so because someone invited them to church. So it kind of goes on. He mentions this. He says a quote from a book called Rafa's Handbook for Group Leaders. So if you want to Amazon that might be a good resource for you if you're looking to read some more and grow some more in this area. But it says this quote: experienced group leaders realize that you usually have to personally invite 25 people for 15 to say that they will attend. Of those 15, usually only 8 to 10 will actually show up. And of those, only 5 will be regular attenders after a month or so. So what he's saying is if during this exercise, if you come up with a list of 25 people that you want to invite to your group, then maybe in the next 4 to 6 weeks, you'll have 4 or 5 people that are in your group. So I think that's a worthy goal for us. Let's make a list of 25 people that we want to invite to our group in hopes that in the next 6 weeks, every group at Impact Church will grow by 4 to 5 people. This means, a wise leader tries to invite at least one new person every week. So that doesn't include, so if I invite someone this week and they can't make it for whatever reason, then next week I'm going to invite them again and I'm going to invite one new person. So that means in the course of the next 12 months, we will have invited 52 people to come to our group. And if this study is correct, then that means that's double our 25, which means we could literally see 10 new people become faithful members of our community group by the end of the year. That is going to over double most of your groups. So that's exciting to me. He talks about the types of people to invite. So think about family, think about friends, think about coworkers, think about students you go to class with, think about neighbors, think about church contacts, which is a big one because we have people at Impact who are not regular attenders of a community group yet. And so they're fair game as well. He talks about not getting discouraged if people leave your group for whatever reason. In Northern Virginia, people move out of the area all the time. We may have them for 12 to 24 months. And so that's just a part of our mission field. We have to get used to that, which means we have to up our inviting probably double what most people around the country have to do. Then he talks about just a benefit is a group that continually adds more people, usually has more excitement and morale. I've seen that in my group. And so yeah, if your group feels like it's lacking a little bit of excitement, bringing one or two new people into that group can totally change the dynamic of your group completely. And then he talks about if you encourage your group to invite new people, it encourages them to have ownership in your group. So it's no longer Brandon's group or it's no longer my church group. It's my group. This is my group. And nothing says ownership of something more than when you are inviting people to come into it. Then he just talks about some mistakes to avoid. So one is don't forget to pray. We talked about that in the first chapter. And then the other one was what is kind of a good guideline. So I wanted to share with you what I think is a good guideline and timeline to get people into your group. The first thing you should do if you have someone is maybe before you invite them to group, if you don't have a previous close relationship with them, enough to know their spiritual journey, invite them to go have coffee. Invite them to your house for dinner. Even that may be too intimidating, but figure out some way to get together to talk for 30 to 60 minutes with them. From there, if they're really unchurched, maybe invite them to one of our events that we do, such as the helicopter egg drop, or in a few weeks for the Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to do a Jersey Sunday, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So invite them to something. Then move over and maybe invite them, after you've had coffee, after you've invited them to do something non-intimidating with our church, invite them to an activity with your group. Maybe your group is having a dinner night or a game night or doing something fun, going bowling. Invite them to come to that just to make some relationships and some friends. Then after that, encourage them to come and attend the group. They've already built relationships. It's not as intimidating to them. And then after they've come to the group a few weeks, start inviting them to come to church and take their next step. So that would be an appropriate next step guide, especially with unchurched people. Also, don't take it personal when people say no. Just keep going. Don't give up too soon. He also says it may take about 6 asks of someone before they actually come. So if you have not asked someone 6 times, then maybe even make yourself a little tally mark of how many times you've invited someone to come to group. Maybe being told no once or being told no 5 times wasn't a failure. He says it may have actually just been a step in the right direction of just continuing to ask them. He says, man, don't fail to capitalize on opportunities. Ephesians 5, this isn't in the book, but Ephesians 5, Paul encourages us to take advantage of every opportunity we have. And so be sure to do that. He says, he talks about 3 victories. And so 1, win them to you. Develop a friendship, a relationship. Then win them to your group or to Impact Church. Let them feel a part of it. And then 3rd, win them to Christ. Expose them to the gospel. Expose them to your life. And then invite them to follow Jesus. Use your group. Use times in people's lives. If you know someone who has just suffered the death of a loved one, or is new to the area, or has going through a divorce, or is having marriage problems or family problems with kids, or is just diagnosed with a major illness, or just had a new child, man, those are prime times to invite people to be a part of your group and your church. And so then he just has some super practical, on page 42, some super practical suggestions of what to say and when to say it. And then a small group leader personal inviting chart. So it kind of lets you lay out what your plan is. And so I did this in literally 30 seconds, and I decided I was going to invite people on Fridays and Sundays to our group. And I made a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people off the top of my head in 30 seconds that I can invite to our community group. And so my plan is to text and call them to grab coffee with me so that I can invite them face to face. All right. So I'd love to hear your plan for inviting new people to your group. And so post that in the comments below. Just reply to this message and let us know what your plan is so we can all encourage each other. Let us see massive growth in our community groups. Love you guys. Keep living the dream.